Hi, everybody. I'm Rabbi Jay Moses from the Wexner Foundation, Vice President of the Wexner Foundation here in Columbus, Ohio, specializing in programs that strengthen Jewish leaders all over the world. I'm here with my friend and coach, Laurie Gerber from the Handel Group. Laurie and I have been working together this year. She's been my coach, which I'll say a lot more about, but I want to let Laurie introduce herself as well.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for having me, Jay. Jay and I go way back. Maybe he'll tell you. We go way, way back to when I was 14 years old. So it's amazing to be together again in this sort of partnership. So I work for Handel Group. I'm an executive EVP and head coach at Handel Group Life Coaching. And overall, we coach this method, the Handel method, in schools and universities like MIT, Stanford, NYU, Columbia, the New York City public school system. We teach in companies, big and small. We do executive life coaching. And then we also work with human individuals that we want to have happier, better lives. And so through the life coaching division, I came and found you. And there's overlap, obviously, between all of those. And regardless of how we're doing it, where we're doing it, it's really the same method. So that's a little about me.
Great. I was going to spare embarrassing you by mentioning that I met you when you were 14 years old, but you know, it is actually part of the story that people in your life, you come back, you find each other. It seemed, we found each other through social media and through mutual friends, and I got intrigued by the work you were doing. And since my work is also always about sort of growing, learning, developing yourself as a leader, I wanted to learn what it was all about, and the more we talked about it, the more intrigued I got. And so for this,
we always debate who found who, because I think I found you, because I remember back being 14 and Jay was the counselor on my Israel trip, and he was a leader and a hero and a rabbi even then. And so we looked up to you. And so then when I start to think about who I want to support and empower, I always think of leadership. I even specifically think of Jewish leadership. So it did not take long for my imagination to pop you up as somebody I wanted to reconnect with. So.
Cool. Well, I mean, the method really spoke to me deeply the more you described it, and actually practicing it with you as well. Because, well, first of all, I have to be totally transparent that, it was a challenge, because the Handel method invites and encourages you to explore, get to the truth of your life. And that, for a lot of people, involves really pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It certainly did for me too, but it's all in the name of getting closer to truth. Right? The real truth of who we are and what we're doing here in this world and in our relationships and in our roles. It pushed me to do something which sounds easy and is harder than it seems, and that is to articulate the dreams that we have for our lives.
Yeah.
The Handel method, I think systems of coaching get a bad rap in some parts of the world because they can subsist on platitudes. But there's a difference where those platitudes come from a place of truth. And the thing about the Handel method is that you were encouraging me and are encouraging me to hold myself accountable to pursuing those dreams and to doing it with integrity, right? So if you're coming at it from a spiritual place, if you're a religiously oriented person, or if you're coming at it from a sort of a hard-headed, rational business place, either way, getting to the truth of who you are and what your issues and challenges are in life, and acting with integrity, sort of identifying what your points of integrity are and then aligning your life to them, is something that I think anybody can get behind.
Yeah. It's hard to argue with when you break it down like that. So you tried.
Yes, I did absolutely try. I think a certain amount of resistance. It was very clear that, there was no sort of type of resistance to this kind of self-exploration that you hadn't seen before and that you hadn't seen in yourself. That was another thing that was really, I think, meaningful and attractive, was you had done this work yourself. And I think for the Inner.U program, which is, you know, in the voices of the founders of the method, it's very clear that they've done this, they've done the hard work themselves.
We are walking our talk, not just in the past, but in every single day. And I do think that's the special sauce, Jay. I really do. When you talk about that experience, that feeling of that it's from the truth, anyone can say any of the stuff that we're saying. We're actually practicing it, not perfectly, but very earnestly practicing it. And that means just today, my coach was, you know, evoking my heart, arguing with my head, and holding me to account for my actions. And that is, to me, that's the other part of the special sauce, is that three-pronged approach coupled with we're walking our talk. So when we tell you to be brave, or we tell you to do something that's annoying, it's hard to argue because we're doing it too. So it's teamwork.
Right. And it actually makes, you know, the hard part of the program, it's sort of, you know, presented only slightly tongue in cheek, as there's homework, right? And it's hard work. And you know, the voice, especially of Lauren in Inner.U, has a little bit of like, you know, it's your teacher or your mom assigning you homework, but it's also like with this awareness of like, it's out of love. Like, this is a gift to yourself, right? And it's about you becoming the best human being you can become, and that we all have gifts to offer the universe, and that it's hard work to identify those gifts. And like the bar is set really high in terms of challenging yourself to sort of match that integrity of head and heart and action. But it's always done with sort of, you know, nudging, we would say in Yiddish, but understanding in like a loving way of nudging.
Well, it's also tikkun olam, which I learned from you, you know, which is the nudge is to repair the world. The nudge is coming from something greater than us. And we're just trying to galvanize as much spirit towards alignment as we can for the good of the whole. And that's why I think that is, you know, I was literally arguing with Lauren this morning, like literally getting coached an hour ago about something I was resisting, and you know, she was being loving, and she's like, why don't you feel the love? Like, it just sounds really like you're telling me to do something I don't want to do. But the higher calling is what has her stand up to my brat, right? What has her stand up to my crankiness, my brattiness, my, you know, my resistance and all that, is because she keeps seeing like, oh, we need all hands on deck for the repair of this planet. So I can't just let her off, you know, the fish hook. I need, you know, and we need all hands on deck. We can't be wallowing in self-pity. We can't be mired in, you know, overwhelming, too much to do, you know, all the stuff that slows us down from just getting the work done that we know we need to do. Yeah.
I mean, for me, that was sort of embodied in the challenge to really become the designer or the author of your life. And just realizing when you have a coach to help you sort of, you know, reflect back your own tendencies, we all, it's like the story of Jonah from the Bible, right? We tend to flee from whatever our responsibilities are. It's one of these natural human things. And when and we don't always realize that, of course, we think we're the authors of our own lives, but we don't realize sometimes how scared we are to fully embrace that responsibility, if it means paying attention to all the things that might otherwise lead us astray or allow us to avoid, you know, dealing with the real issues. But if you're the author, you're accountable, you're responsible. It's hard work, but it's really rewarding hard work when you see the effect that it has on yourself, your life, the people around you.
Yeah. Yes. I often quote Bible stories, I must say. Again, your influence was indelible. Moses, you know, took a burning bush to get him to go back to his job. Like, you know, we really, really like to wander in the desert. It's hot. It's, you know, we're hungry, but, you know, sometimes it's better just wandering rather than, you know, getting there.
It's also been interesting to see the effect that going through this coaching process and the Handel method in general has on the people around you. One of the ways in which I was kind of bratty and pushed back against you was like, well, you know, you're asking me to do all this inner work and then to actually face up to the people in my life that I need to have real and not always easy conversations with, to sort of break through whatever ways we're stuck. professionally or personally. But you know, one of my bratty responses well, they're not doing the Handel method. What if they don't understand, you know, and appreciate what I'm trying to do? And then realizing that that when you do it with real integrity, people see that and they feel it, and they not always, but often will respond with a certain amount of their own open-heartedness in return.
Yeah, the joke, and Lauren says this a lot in Inner.U. She's like, you go first. You go first. You know, someone has to go first. It's called leadership. You go first. You know, and it is always better to go first. It's actually, you're way more proud and happy when you go first. So we call it humaning better. You know, we're teaching you to human better. But everybody's humaning. You know, we're just kind of humaning unconsciously. We're teaching you tools for how to human better. And they're very contagious because they make your life easier and more fun and more entertaining. So other people generally will want to join in versus run the other way. And if they run the other way, when you've been lovingly honest, that's good information too.
Right. Right. That's one of your favorite things to say. Well, that's good information, right? I mean, this is fundamentally a learning process, right? So transformation of your life, or achieving your dreams, or becoming the author of your life, it doesn't just happen, and it's not automatic, and it's not, you know, and
it's not permanent. I had a 14-year-old in my event yesterday, and she said, or 2 days ago, she said, well, when you get the dreams, don't you just want the next dream anyway? I was like, wow, you're clever. You're clever 14-year-old. And I said, yeah, you're right. It's actually not about the getting of it. The getting of it's nice. We like those results, but that alignment that you feel and can call forth in order to believe you can get something or cause something, that's what we're really after. We call that personal integrity, and that's a muscle. It's not an attainment that you can put up on the mantle.
Right. Right. It is absolutely a muscle. And I think we all know those people in our lives who, whether they've been coached or trained or not, they sort of unlock us a little bit emotionally just by the way they carry themselves with sort of that straightforward honesty and integrity. And it's a pretty awesome thing to think about, to try to become one of those people who everybody knows when they're talking to you, that, you know, that it's coming from that sort of pure place. Obviously that's easier when, it's easier when you're not in conflict with that person, when you don't have sort of baggage that you have to unpack with that person, but all the more so when you do have baggage to unpack with somebody. It feels good when you're.
Yeah. And those people that you're closest with are people you've unpacked baggage with and survived. So we're just giving you the tools to make that easier and less scary. But you know that your best relationships are ones where you actually tackle the elephants in the room.
Right.
All right.
So Inner.U is the sort of version of the Handel method that is widely available for those who don't necessarily have the time, inclination, resources to delve into personal private coaching, which is also an option through the Handel method. But Inner.U is the way to be able to do it with a subscription, and to go through the program online at your own pace, again, in the voice mostly of Lauren. There's a couple.
You'll hear me too. You'll hear my confessions, but it is great to get it from the horse's mouth. And Lauren's the one who invented the method. She's the one who trained me, who trained everybody. And she's fun. She's fun to listen to. And I'd be curious, like, does it seem like private coaching echoes what you've learned in Inner.U? Because I often tell my clients, if they're one-on-one clients, even to just listen to Inner.U. It's like a textbop of all the best versions of the method, and it's at your fingertips at all times.
Yes, that's exactly what it's like.
I've been using it for 15 years. So I would imagine this would get a lot of use if it.
Yeah, it is like a textbook, and it's sort of distilled into, the examples are very thoughtfully chosen, and it's very, concise and articulated exactly the way you would want it to be articulated. And the homework is there as well. Because ultimately, this work is really about taking a deep breath and working through the hard stuff and working through your own resistance, your own fear, asking hard questions, and sort of sometimes ironically, the fear is just embracing that you have unrealized potential and dreams that you can still pursue, and being able to articulate those and own them.
Just the dreams are hard for people. It really is shockingly hard, actually, to talk about dreams for a lot of people. But I do want to say that again, the special sauce is the writing of all of it. Unlike therapy, we are literally giving you work to do. It's a curriculum. You're doing work, and you will feel all of the pride and accomplishment that comes from that versus just talking about something.
Yeah. So we're doing this conversation in part to invite anybody who's watching this to try the Inner.U program for half off. It's a lifetime subscription. Is that right?
Not only a lifetime subscription, Jay, I can't, this is such a bargain. I can't even tell you. Not only a lifetime subscription, which means you can listen and use it and interact in it and make promises and be held to account and get buddies for the rest of your life, but also a private coaching session comes with that, I believe.
Yeah, I think it does.
That's a one-on-one, and twice a month, a Q&A with a live coach for the rest of your life. So, which is not, that alone is $500, to $1,000 worth of value. And then the whole thing's $325 given your code.
Right.
And then one more thing, which I'll tell people about, which is that I am personally taking a cohort through the program, just my eyeballs to your eyeballs. It'll be on Zoom, just like this. And I'll be taking a group from July through the end of the year through the program. So again, you can do it for the rest of your life over and over again. But for that first time through, if now is your moment, I will also personally walk you through it and coach you through it once a month in a group context, eyeball to, live, not pre-recorded, me looking at you in real life, asking you how you're doing, taking your questions, and keeping you, accountable to the process. So to me, that's kind of it's an offer that should be hard to refuse, I think.
So if you're interested, the discount code is J half off, JAYHALFOFF, half off the Inner.U program for life, and access to the amazing Laurie as well. And any of my friends who are watching this who want to learn more, feel free to contact me offline as well. I'm happy to share a little bit more about how the process has worked and is working. And we're, just working on facing up to our own stuff and working through our own stuff, articulating our dreams, and doing the work that is required to overcome our fear and our resistance, and live the life and the relationships and achieve the dreams and the impact in our work that we are destined for.
Do we mention work? But also it's so much fun, and we're gonna laugh the whole way.
Exactly. Well, that's the trick. That's what's made you a great coach, Laurie, is that, even through the hard parts, you're constantly reminding me this is about, also living a life of joy and embracing what's, kind of ridiculous about how hard we make it on ourselves sometimes. And so being able to laugh at yourself, it's a big part of what we teach in our leadership philosophy at the Wexner Foundation too.
Right.
But starting with that self-awareness, and kind of embracing your potential. I didn't know it was about leadership when we first started talking about it, but you've definitely convinced me that that's where the essence of leadership begins. It begins within. So
inspired leadership.
Thank you.
Exactly. Thank you, Jay Moses.
Come a long way in 30 years. Oh, I'm sorry if I just gave away how long it's been since you were 14, but I'm older, so
I have no secrets, Jay. My life is an open book. Awesome.
Right. Thank you.
Bye, all.
Day half off, Inner.U. Go for it, everybody. Talk to you later.
Check it out.